and welcome to Property Pals. My name is Ben.
My name is Marcus.
And now we are very excited to welcome you back for another week of beautiful property.
I know, right? I've been looking forward to it for a while.
I've been very excited because now the market's coming back to life. There's auctions, there's inspections.
Yep.
There's no better time because it's really hard every year when the market goes really quiet. We don't have the open for inspections to go to. What do we do?
Incredibly sad.
But we've reviewed the best sales for 2022, the houses and the apartments.
Yep.
And now we're going to start reviewing properties that are on market.
Correct.
So without further ado, let's get into it. I'm going to do my top 3 for the week.
Yep.
And top 3 could be interesting, could be great value, it could be any sort of reason. But this week I've focused on CBD property.
And for me, I focused on properties that have a good view, good outlook. So I'm starting it off, I think.
So you jump into it.
First one that I've got here is 6/81 Field Street, Clifton Hill.
Now, Clifton Hill.
The agent price guide on this one is 1 to 105 million, and it's 3-bed, 2-bath, 1 car. Located in Clifton Hill, it's where we grew up.
I love Clifton Hill.
We do love it. So it's actually opposite, I think, Ramsden Street Park, and also moments away from the Merry Creek Trail. So great park outlook. And the train station, Clifton Hill, is within walking distance. So I'm going to pitch it to you. So do you love a park outlook, uninterrupted views? Do you like it?
Absolutely love
it. Yeah, well, this is the one for you. And it faces east, so you won't get the overbearing western sun. Great. It's a double-level townhouse in Clifton Hill for only $1 million. So I think that's not too bad, to be honest. You have, I'm just looking here, let's go for the particulars. So looking at the living and dining spaces, you have windows at both front and back of the house. And the main bedroom, if you look at the floor plan, it's huge with the large ensuite on the ground floor. High ceilings and large bedrooms, massive. The secondary bedrooms are 6.2 times 3.2.
They are an odd shape, but I think probably we can put up a photo there. And then there's a thing saying void. What does that mean, Marcus?
So we've got a void that actually, it goes out to the other part of the house. So it's hanging over the family and the dining area. So in one sense, you're not getting the direct natural light. And also another is that noise attenuation and sound, you can hear what's downstairs.
So is there walls or glass or windows that go all the way up to the top of the, or is it stops short?
It stops slightly short, they're smaller, so I'll just show you. So I think, not that one there. I'm not sure if they got a photo actually of it. So it's up the top, you can see in one of them the landing. And essentially it's not ideal. You'd prefer windows that go out to the facade and then you can see out directly. But these are indented so you can have 2 other rooms with, I guess, an aspect. Yeah,
I guess at the end of the day, for $1 million, Clifton Hill, very close to the CBD. These are very spacious rooms. They look really well designed. The main is on the ground floor, which is an advantage, I guess. And so, if longer term, that means if you do get older too as well, you don't need to go up the stairs to get to your bedroom.
You might have to get up to the stairs to get in. I need to double check that.
Okay, that's right.
But it's a 3-bedroom apartment with only 1 car park. So that's a potential downside. That's one thing that I was going to talk about. We normally probably expect at least 2 car parks. It is part of a complex. So it looks like it's a townhouse, but it's part of a complex. So it's not like a standalone house. And it has a pool and a gym. So it means, what do we pay when we're in a complex? OC fees, Owners Corporation fees. So you'll have to pay a certain amount per annum or per quarter related to fixing going into a fund that goes towards fixing the pool, the gym, etc. So just have to keep that in mind.
And we call that common area, basically. So when you're in an apartment building or townhouses and there's common area, which is basically area which every person that is part of that complex or that apartment building owns, a little bit of it because you own it together, and so that's common property, and so you need to raise funds every year to maintain that common area. Now these can be lifts, these can be the
pool,
garden, these
gym,
can be
garden,
insurance for the building.
Correct, yeah.
And so all these sort of things need to be maintained.
Cladding sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah, which ideally you don't want. But.
So park view, I love it. For $1 million in Clifton Hill, I think it's not too bad.
I think that is kicking a goal.
Oh, nice. Opposite the park. Over to you, Ben. What's your one?
Now, I'm focusing on the CBD, and I really love CBD real estate. So, for number 3, I'm going to introduce you to Unit 11, 30 Oliver Lane. Now, Marcus, let me pitch this to you.
Oh, yes.
This is a warehouse conversion. It is in the Bond store, which was built over 100 years ago, actually in 1907, and then it was refurbished in 1995 into apartment complexes. Now this one here that you see, it is actually an addition to that, which was done even later on in 2009. Yeah, so 2 extra levels. So originally a wool factory in Flinders Lane or around this Paris end of the CBD, a lot of the buildings when they were built 100 years ago, they were built during the rag trade. So this is when garments and all this sort of stuff was done, and then a lot of these have now been converted back into, snazzy offices or into, nice apartments, and a lot of them have that sort of New York feel to them.
You got the great research this week.
I really went into depth this week.
The rag.
And this one, anyway, it was this complex. Originally, I think it had about 10 or 11 apartments, and then 3 extra were added on top later on. So if you want a warehouse conversion, this is a warehouse conversion, but the addition actually isn't part of the original warehouse.
So not the warehouse vibe, but
it's you're in a warehouse complex, but you're in the addition.
Does it have a lift? Do you know?
There would be a lift inside the building that allows you to get up to it because it's on probably the 6th or the so level, but this apartment itself has 2 levels.
Yep.
So downstairs you've got the main living room area. You can see there's a powder room, so you've got your dunny downstairs, your kitchen, and then upstairs you've got 2 bedrooms. There's a balcony on both levels. You've got a shared bathroom upstairs. Not ideal, but hey, if you wanted to, actually, you got to share a shower then.
Yeah.
But the main issue with this one, which when we can have a look at some of the pictures, is that there's not too much of an outlook. So you're looking basically at a wall of the adjoining property.
Wow, yeah.
And so you can see one of these photos strategically taken, so you're looking outside of it. If you love Chin Chin, well then there's no issue. You just need to walk downstairs and go straight to Chin Chin.
Oh, I know where we are. So to be honest, Ben, when you look at properties, you want to go to them and see them in the flesh.
Absolutely.
Because the photos are sometimes misleading or directed in an aspect.
They're going to show you the best part of the property in the best possible light. But just to point this out, this one goes into 2 different lanes. So Oliver Lane, this property actually doesn't face Oliver Lane. It faces the other direction, so the back, which is the laneway in between the Chin Chin and around there. So you're looking at a wall. You're still getting natural light, but in terms of those beautiful outlooks that you're talking about today, unless you really like brick, this doesn't have the most spectacular outlook.
Okay, what do you think about the good old wallpaper?
It's interesting.
Yeah.
And some people, if you like trees, they will like it.
But I love it, Ben. It's my favourite.
What I should point out, this one originally sold for $755,000 about 10 years ago in 2012. Now they're asking for $1.65 to $1.8 million. When you calculate that out on a square metre rate, which we've talked about before, this one is 119 square metres. That comes out to the agent's quote price, 1.65 to 1.8, is about $14,000 to $15,000 a square metre.
Quick maths, that's pretty good.
Well, I did pretty well in maths in high school.
Yes, you did, didn't you?
But
that's a lot of money, yeah.
That's what I was thinking as well. For an apartment in the CBD, yes, it's got a kind of warehouse feel, but that's quite a high rate on a square metre rate. And so, good point out, sorry, this is 2 bed, 1 bath, no car.
No car. That is a lot of money for an apartment with no car.
And I think that's probably will be a reason why this won't attract absolutely every single buyer. And so you're probably attracting someone who is comfortable without a car, or you can also rent cars nearby, but that's another cost to yourself on top of owner's corporation fees.
Yeah.
But I think it's a high per square metre rate for the apartment, and it'll be really interesting to see how this sells.
Yeah, my gut feel is like that's a lot of money for that in the city when potentially there's other things you buy for $1.8 million that are better.
Correct. So, but also too that when you're looking at a square metre rate, yes, it's all fixed up, it looks really nice, but you should compare this to other sort of things. And we'll chat later on, there's one other property that I'm going to talk about which is not the same sort of rate. It's a lot cheaper on a square metre rate, maybe not fixed up as nice as this, but it's something to compare.
Now, can I ask one question? If you've done your research, Ben, can you build on top of this again?
So interestingly with this one is that, and I'm not a planner, I can't guarantee this, but from what I can see from the listing is that there's been advice saying that you might be able to add an additional thing on top of this as well. So you can add, it might not be a whole nother level, but maybe it's a small little room or a bathroom and then a rooftop garden area.
And that's because you own the title to the uppermost floor, is that right?
That's
so
right.
that's the roof, essentially.
So we can maybe go into this in a bit more detail in a
later,
future episode. But because you own, in terms of a strata title, with an apartment, normally it's just a box. But if you own a house, you own the rights, and there's a special way of saying it, but all the way down to the centre of the earth and all the way up to the sky. Subject to certain restrictions on being able to mine things from the ground and being able to build things really high, and there's planning restrictions. But with this one here, the advice that's given so far is that it looks like you can also add an additional kind of garden area or rooftop area on the roof, which could be quite nice.
Not bad. It'd be a good size apartment if it was you added something else as well.
But, well, that's my number 3.
All right, let's go over to my number 2. Now, Ben, can I take you to Port Melbourne?
Oh, wow.
Now, what's so special about this?
The beach.
The beach, the great views. Now, it's 2 bed, 2 bath, 2 car, quoting similar price, 1 to 1.05 million. And for an apartment with terrific views in Port Melbourne, it's not a bad price, I think, personally. Located within the Port Melbourne shopping strip, just a stone's throw away from the beach.
Or a pebble.
Or a pebble. Great position if you like the beach and enjoy going into the city. Now, Ben, pitching this one, do you like natural light?
I love
Natural light. Now, the natural light, this apartment has copious amounts of natural light. I love how the living room has large, generous windows, and then it also has facing the balcony and then the northern light, and then has the more elegant, smaller windows that are on the western side to allow just a little bit of light in, but not tons of harsh western light.
Because we know that the light from the west, that tends to be the strongest light.
Lower and stronger.
Sun's a little, so low and fast, and it can really heat up an
Low
apartment.
and fast. All right, so bedrooms are separated,
Love
with the
it.
main having its own ensuite.
That is a super duper layout.
Great layout. You're so far away from one another, it's perfect. The only thing is that one bedroom, I'm just saying here, it does open right up to the living space.
That's
right.
true. And then from what I can see too as well, look, I see that the way that the bedrooms are done, lots of, natural light faces north, but one bathroom, it's separated from the other bedroom.
You have to walk all the way through. And something I'll notice on this, and I'll come to it in the other ones, if you see AC on the floor plan, it means air conditioning. Air conditioning in the living room here, it has it, but not in the bedrooms.
So particularly maybe in that one that faces west.
Correct.
In summer, it might get a little bit hot.
Warm, yeah. So 2 car park, or small study, desk nook on the other side of the main bedroom wall. This is a nice touch. You can work from home. Downsides, outer bedroom window, you're looking at a roof at one side. So I'll just have a look at these photos a bit. So there, just in this bedroom here.
Now
You're
that
looking
roof,
down.
So is that the roof of?
An adjacent property, I believe.
there you go.
So I'm not sure it could get developed. Maybe not.
I don't think you could have a window on the boundary if that was the case. So,
Pretty bad, isn't it?
but
Anyway,
anyway, you
that's
got
an issue
lovely
there.
natural light at the moment.
The floor plan doesn't have the dimensions on it, Ben. So that's something that I just
We don't know how big the
we
bedrooms
don't know
are.
how big the bedrooms are. So you need to go and see it.
And so that's probably a recommendation for our Property Pals viewers.
Yep.
That when you see a floor plan, if it doesn't have the dimensions of the rooms, it's really important that you get in there and potentially even measure
Call
up
the
yourself.
agent as well and ask them for something with dimensions.
And then, if the agent doesn't have that sort of information, you need to go in there, you need to measure it up yourself. And like we've mentioned before, for a bedroom, generally 3x3 is the minimum size.
You don't want anything smaller, really.
So you can, as long as it's slightly longer on the other side, and sometimes you just need to accept it when maybe it's like a conversion or something, or if you love the apartment. But 3x3, anything smaller than that will feel a little bit small.
Yep, love it. So I think it's not a bad price for a great view, location-wise, bedrooms separated, $1 million, $1.05 million, and we love the agent who's selling it as well. So
Who's the agent?
Fraser Lack,
The man,
the
the
man,
legend.
the myth, the legend. All right, Ben.
One before we go
yeah,
two
yeah,
as well.
yeah.
2 cars, so you don't need to fight over. If you're, a couple with a kid, you both can have a car. If you're 2 friends, if you yourself, and then you're renting out the other room to someone else.
Yep.
I mean, rents are going up at really crazy speed.
Astronomical,
So maybe
yeah.
this is one for you, and then you rent out the other room. But that's pretty good to have 2 cars.
Yep, and you got 2 storage cages as well.
We love
Faces
storage
north,
cages.
ticks a lot of boxes.
Very
Benny boy,
good.
over to you.
Okay, my number 2. Here we go. We're going right back to the Melbourne CBD.
Ooh, love it.
And we are now on the most premium street in the whole CBD.
Let me guess, which street is it? Collins Street.
Now we're at 15 Collins Street. This is 1901 Collins Street. So on up the top of the
it's an
building,
old one.
this building itself, this was one of the first or original kind of luxury residential developments in the CBD. Now, it was built in 1970 by an architect called Karl Popper.
Popper.
And believe me, he popped out a very good one here. He also is the architect of 201 Spring Street, which is a similar looking building. It's a modernist
You
design.
have gone to great lengths with this research. I need to improve my game.
I really wanted to make sure that we got these ones up here. Oh, we're out of the light. Thank you very much. And
Back
now
on.
this one was originally had 48 basically apartments. But when it was built, what's really interesting is that 2 years post completion, that a lot of the buildings and the apartments on the upper floors, they were vacant for a lot of while. And also, but what's really important about this is that the floor to ceiling is not very high. And a really interesting story is that when this was built, it was built on the basis that it was a residential apartment building. So from the floor to the ceiling is 2.4 metres.
2.4.
So,
I touched that with my hand.
I mean, you are 6'8", right?
6'8", yeah.
But so that means it was very low. And then what happened later on is when it wasn't doing so well as a residential building, a lot of people wanted to, or people just wanted to turn it back to say like
Office?
dentists, or other sort of professional things, but then the local council wouldn't allow that originally. So then there was a bit of a story of how they converted it back. Anyway, now it's a combination of, professional suites, of dentists, of fashion designers, and also of residential apartments.
So is it zoned
Capital City
Capital
zone,
City
but then
zone.
way back in the 70s or the 80s, the zoning would have been different at that stage, and there was other restrictions. Anyway, it's a really interesting story if you're interested in planning history to have a look at it. But it's 23 levels of apartments and now suites. Then it's got 2 levels of kind of like a retail. It's got a great restaurant Uncle
Right,
there.
the
if you want to go
apartment
there.
itself. Let's go.
But it's half floor. It's 150 square meters NSA. It's 2 bed, 2 bath, 1 car. Now for the CBD, 1 car, that is
That's
great to have
How
a car.
much are those worth in this? Do we know? It's hard to.
Gosh, to rent a car in the
50
CBD, it depends where you're sort of renting, but you are in the Paris end. So this is really good, and unlike the previous apartment that we looked at that didn't have a car, this one does.
You can also rent the car out if you don't actually have a car, so
Yeah.
it could be a form of income.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? So when I was looking at the kitchen, Ben, it's got a window.
I'm glad you pointed that out because I'm not really sure what that is, to be honest.
Yeah.
It probably provides light to the window, a bit of separation from the main living area, smells and stuff, I guess, if you cook in the kitchen.
If I went in there, I'd probably just knock it out.
I think I'm probably with you, Marcus, too, that it just seems to me, this is obviously, looks like it's been like this for a while. You look at the carpet, it's fairly old and tired. It's been used, it's been loved for a long time.
I think I have an idea. Maybe it was used as a commercial suite, and they've had glass in there so that they could have they could go into the kitchen.
Maybe it looks like, to me, it just looks like, look at the bedrooms. I mean, to me, it just looks like a house. But what's great about this is that the quote range of what it is it's been quoted at approximately $1.4 to $1.5 million, which is $10,000 a square metre. Now, that compared to the previous one we looked at, that's significantly less.
Okay, which one though? Like this one has 2.4 metre ceilings.
The other one would probably have high ones because it's a recent addition, so it won't be absolutely sprawling like some of those warehouse conversions, but it's probably got slightly higher ones. However, on a price, this is Collins Street, it's level 19, or it's actually...
Faces north?
Yeah, faces north, and then the back of it also has bedrooms. Now, I'm going to get to that in a second about an issue about that, but... it needs a little bit of love. You need to spend probably a little bit to bring it up to date for a house, or as some sort of commercial use, which is possible as well.
And when you say give it a bit of love, what do you mean?
So a bit of love is you got to spend some money on it. Just
Renovate it.
Probably fix, if it's going to be a residential apartment, the carpets, maybe the painting the walls or new wallpaper. I'm not sure if the bathrooms need any work either, but look, you're on Collins Street, you've got great natural light, particularly from the north, which is the front of the apartment. And then this one here, I'm not sure actually when it last sold for, but there are recent sales in the building of last year. One of them on, I've just got a note here, part level 10, so it was only about 100 square metres. So a little bit smaller than this one, but it sold for a similar price, $10,000 a square metre. But then there was one on level 15, which sold for $1.69 million, also in March 2022, and that was at $12,000 a square metre. Now that one, I don't think that one was necessarily spruced up or anything like that. And this one's on level 19, so I think
Is it underquoted at all, do you think? Or do you think it's all right?
I just think it's probably good value, and given that there's a bit of uncertainty in the market, CBD living, people aren't sure about, but you've got a car, you're in the Paris end of the CBD, you're on Collins Street, you're probably high enough for it not to be too noisy, and but there's only one issue.
Can I guess?
Have a guess.
I've just looked at this here. Now, I see 1 Spring Street, I think, from the window, and I know near where I work, there is a building going up.
And so that's a very good observation, Marcus. And I'm not sure if it's gotten the permit yet or whether they're applying for a permit, but supposedly behind that building, it does look like there's going to be a new office development, which is kind of part of 1 Spring Street. And so that, if that goes up, that will kind of block a little bit of that natural light out, depending on the design. But on the positive side, their bedrooms, probably not as important as the front of it where the living room is, that this is Collins Street, you've got a little bit of Collins Street history, you've got good natural light at the front, you've got a car. It seems on a square metre rate not to be through the roof. I think this is actually quite a good property.
Nice, yeah. Well, it's unique as well. So, all right, should I go to my next one?
Jump in.
Now, Ben,
oh, wow.
Do you like a pad?
I love a pad.
This is a pad. Now, when I say pad, this is an EOI. Let's just have a quick look here.
What suburb are
I've got it only for 1 to 1.15. Wow. Not a huge price. Sorry, we're in South Yarra. It's a 3-bed, 2-bath, 2-car, going for, I said, 1.05 to 1.15 million is the price range. Now, located on perhaps the trendiest street in inner Melbourne, Chapel Street.
Oh, wow.
So, at your feet, you've got cafes, restaurants, bars, you've got commercial offices you could work at just nearby. You're near South Yarra train station, and you can get into the city or Cremorne just by a tram as well.
Train station nearby.
Now, my pitch, well, it's the trendiest street in Melbourne. I'd call it a pad. I love the main bedroom, Ben. Now, let me take you to the main bedroom here. Now, I'm going to pose something to you. See that main bedroom?
That is very
5.7 times 4.8 with its own courtyard and terrace and an ensuite. But, wait, is there a second main bedroom? Look at the next one. See the next one's 3 by 3.4. It's got a walk-in robe, a huge walk-in robe, and it's also got an ensuite.
So that's north there too. So that could probably be just an office, right? Or it could be a bedroom, or could be... How many bedrooms does it have? So
it's got 3 and essentially 2 main bedrooms because you've got an ensuite, you've got a walk-in robe, and this one's got an ensuite and it's huge.
That's very attractive for a kid that's growing old and needs a bit more space.
Yeah, correct. Or even, like you said, an office or something to have an outlook. And it's got the other bedroom, which is on the other side. And it's got a small
little baby balcony.
3.2 by 2.7, so a little bit smaller. But the kitchen, living and dining room faces south, but has windows on 3 sides, which is great, so it gets in natural light. How big do you think it is? I was thinking 120 square metres. I need to check. I haven't done as much research as you as yet. I'll work on it, I promise. But it's got an inbuilt laundry, which is a good addition. The apartment complex has a pool, 2 cars for this one, and 1 storage cage.
Now this one here, from what I can see, that looks like it's on the second top level of the complex as well.
Yeah, second top level. So
it's an older looking building, but it's right in the heart of Chapel Street. There's a lot of tall buildings around there, particularly Forest Hill precinct.
On a corner, this one though.
And this one has light, multiple sides. I think it's actually really attractive, this building, and quite, given what you were saying, big bedrooms, living room, a bit of separation from the bedroom, so the kids and the parents can have a little bit of separation in their lives.
Yeah. So can you tell me why is this bigger? Because it's an older development. Like the bedrooms are bigger because it's older generally. The apartment developments we see nowadays, they tend to be smaller bedrooms. Pre-2016, they were definitely smaller. But after certain regulations came into play...
Well, it depends too what's your market for the apartments. So probably if you went back quite a while ago, a lot of the apartments were investor grade. So they would just fit as many in as possible because they just need to be leased out. And you can see that, particularly in South Yarra and some of the... Even the apartments still coming, you want to try and get as many as possible because... So then you can have more people buying apartments. This one here, maybe it's more marketed towards owner-occupiers when it's done, and that's quite good living, I think.
Good balcony. There are a couple downsides. There are a fair few tall buildings around the apartment, and some are overlooking. Do you think that's an issue?
I think too that there's always construction going on in that area
South
as
Yarra,
well.
yeah.
There is a school nearby though, so...
Yeah, if you've got kids, send them there. But the other downside is that on the balcony, you're just looking at a roof on one side. But...
if you like roofs,
it might be for you. So And that's it. I just think it's a solid buy. Like, remember when we were looking at that one a couple episodes ago in, was it Tarak Road?
That's
South
right.
Yarra?
Yeah,
I probably preferred that one.
Yeah, just in location, and it's got a little bit more outlook, and that rooftop was,
Yeah.
was to die
But
for.
this for $1 million or 1.15 million.
It's still a great property. It can get quite a little bit noisy on Chapel
can it?
Street and
All
around
right.
South Yarra,
Yeah.
but then again, so can Brunswick Street, the one that I
And
liked the other
Collingwood.
day, and Collingwood
Yeah.
as well. So it's just, I guess, for someone that wants to be in the hustle and bustle, in an apartment that's got decent sized bedrooms and also good natural light, this is a good one.
And it's got lots of energy around it as well.
Love it.
It's very attractive. Ben, what's your next one? I'll throw
Okay,
it to you.
my number one, we're back to the CBD, 3 for 3, and we are in Punch Lane. Now, what do you know about Punch Lane, Marcus?
I know about Punch Lane. Not much.
Well, it's a really hip area, and what's great about this area is that this is, and I can tell you, there's not many of these opportunities in the CBD. It's a townhouse, or a house, you could say, or a townhouse in the heart of the Paris end of the CBD.
Wait, so it has its own land component?
It has its own land component. There's no OC.
Wow.
It's got your own car entry. Like, there's only so many of these that are still exist in the CBD, and that's what makes this one so attractive.
How much land do you think it is? Is
I
it?
can tell you exactly how much land. So this is a 2-bed, 2-bath, 1 car on 106 square metres of land. Now, it's got there's 4 of these townhouses that are in one line. They're all double level, and then I think one has been slightly adjusted so it has like a rooftop area as well, but this one is just a 2-level townhouse. And then in this Punch Lane area is that there's 4 of these double-storey townhouses, and then across the other side of Punch Lane, I think there's about 6 triple-storey townhouses.
Yep.
These ones here, when I was researching, it looks like it was actually constructed, these 4, in the 60s, but they look like they've been done-ups, and then from what I could see, maybe in the 80s it was redone, and then recently they've all kind of been renovated on the inside. And so this one here, you've got downstairs, you've got a garage, room for 1 car.
Could that garage also, if you didn't want your car, be a study?
That could be a study, it could be a home office, you could even have like your own little architecture studio or something like that for someone to walk in.
I love the entryway. Like, they look good from the outside.
I think they look really stylish.
Yeah.
And then with this one here, and I can't comment with certainty because without, planning and a comment, but you could probably add something on top of it, or at least add a rooftop area given the restrictions on that area of the CBD.
Wow.
Now, I don't know whether you could add lots of levels to it, and that's all subject to construction costs, but I know too, if you got all 4 of those townhouses, you'd have 400 square metres right in the heart of the Paris and the CBD, and you could probably add a couple of levels to it. But, it all comes down to cost, and maybe if you're buying this, you probably you're not even necessarily thinking about that. You're just saying, I got a townhouse in the CBD, Paris Inn.
Walking distance to everything. Like, there's one downside, is there?
There's a couple. Well, actually, no, you're right. There is one fairly big issue that some people might not be attracted to, but then again, maybe it's an opportunity.
Tell me, what is that issue?
Oh, please, I will.
Yes.
Is that just opposite this, there's the Comedy Theatre. So the Comedy Theatre is a great theatre in Melbourne, but there's been a recent application to develop, from what I could see, I've read things of being 23 to 34 levels of office that's going to be kind of cantilevered over the Comedy Theatre. And so you can imagine an office that big to build will take years. And so if you're on the ground there's going to be a little bit of chaos going on.
Or if you're renting the property out, rents may
rents-
be impacted because...
Unless maybe it's a builder.
and he just walks to work straight away, straight home. Is that what you're thinking?
I'm not sure, but you're right, Marcus. It will be impacted from a rentability and also just for a livability perspective for a little bit of time, I would think.
Yep.
But once it's done, it will potentially impact some of the sunlight that gets to the house.
Okay.
So that will impact it. But then again, in the CBD, you can't just assume that if you want to live in a townhouse in the CBD, there's big buildings all around you. So the fact that you can have a townhouse, have on-ground entry to your car park, you've got a couple of bedrooms now. With the bedrooms too, you can see they're only getting light from a light well.
Light well. It's 2.8 by 6 metres, the bedroom.
And so
good old long ones.
Normally 3 by 3, right? But 2.8 by 6, because they're quite long, you probably get away with it being less than 3 metres wide.
Yep.
And I think overall, from what I could see, these things don't trade too often. And the last time that
I
this
know
one
why,
sold,
because they're so like it's small. There's not many of them.
that's
so,
right. And then I think people when they buy here, like you might just love being in the CBD. And so this one last sold in 2007 for 780K. Now they're quoting 2.25 mil. I think is the asking price now for this
Right.
sort of property. So 2.25, that ends up being about $20,000 per square metre on land. So another way that we can analyse things, Marcus, is we don't necessarily look at just the
Internal
dollars
area.
the dollars per square metre on the internal area. We look at how much it costs on the land, and 20,000 a square metre for CBD property isn't
No,
out of the
crazy.
par.
Now, Ben, just lastly though, with the internal area, obviously in an apartment, you won't take your apartment and divide it by the land because
Not necessarily all the time.
But for this one, for a normal house or a townhouse, it's common to do that.
Yeah, I think like it depends where you're looking. It's just another way of looking at value. And so because this is, CBD, you've got a land component to it. Like you know, if you're buying this, like the land itself is probably worth similar to the price that you're paying for the townhouse.
Can I ask you a question? Are you, if we finished on this one?
I'm all done with this one.
So with the three properties that I put forward, we had Clifton Hill, we had the one in Port Melbourne, and then we had the one in South Yarra. All similar price range,
Yep.
1 million, low 1 millions. Which one would you pick and why?
South Yarra, Port Melbourne, and
Clifton Hill
Clifton
Town.
Hill. So the Port Melbourne one had a really nice layout, I thought, but I think I got to go for the South Yarra.
Same, yeah. It's just location is great, and it's got everything that I'd like to live in. I do like the idea of a Clifton Hill townhouse facing a park with great views.
It's a great suburb.
But no, that's a fair play. Now, Ben, are we signing off?
I think, well then I'll ask you,
All right.
the three ones we've got here, Oliver Lane, so next near Chin Chin, you can go there every night if you want.
Love
Collins
it.
Street, most premium street in the whole CBD. You're right way up high, got a beautiful outlook, and 30 Punch Lane, you've got a townhouse in the middle of the CBD. Now that is a good, probably double the price of those first two, or a bit more than the first one.
Which one am I
would you
picking?
go?
Well, I go for Punch Lane.
I think I went too.
Punch
would be
Lane.
Fantastic. Okay, guys. Well, thanks very much for tuning in. We hope that you learn a thing or two. If you've got any comments or any queries or anything that you think you can add to our analysis, please leave us a comment below. Also, let us know if there's any properties that are on market or that sold recently that you want us to comment on. And
Signing off from Property Pals.
we'll
Thanks.
see you next time. See you
Yeah.
guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.